Juno overrated? I know you guys are looking at this video right now. You're seeing this title and you're like, yo, OP's off his rocker. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But listen. I will explain everything very soon. But real quick, we have a very special sponsor for this video. And this video is sponsored by none other than LD Player. Yes, you heard me right. The glorious people over at LD Player decided to sponsor me, your boy. This thing is a super powerful, super fast Android emulator. This thing can play any of your favorite gacha games, including Grand Summoners. If you want to play your mobile games in the best possible quality and the best possible frame rates, I think you don't need to look any further than LD Player personally. If you are interested in downloading this and trying out LD Player for yourself, links down below in the description and in the comments section. Now back to the video. So yeah, I know a lot of you guys are going to be shocked that I would even say Juno is overrated. Like, do I even know what I'm talking about? Am I actually the biggest content creator for Grand Summoners? How did that happen? Don't ask me. But yeah, with Juno returning and all the Blood Knights actually returning with the most recent banner, I thought this was a question or a discussion that kind of needed to be brought to light because a lot of people have been saying this over the past few months ever since Juno was originally released. And I mean, I can't lie to you. I think some people, I can kind of see where they're coming from, but at the same time, I don't really know. Now, me personally, do I actually think Juno is overrated? No, I don't think so, but I think people kind of go a little bit too crazy with the amount of praise they give her. Like, yeah, Juno is really good, but I don't think she's the be-all end-all unit that a lot of people think she is. I mean, for some people, I think so, because, waifus, and at the end of the day, you got the Juno simps, and I don't want nothing to do with them, I'll be honest. Those guys are a different breed of animals. They're too powerful for me. These guys are like Mr. Shakedowns from Yakuza 0. If you guys have played that, you know how deadly they are. But then why would I make this video if I personally didn't think she was overrated? Well, I think it was more so just to bring an idea of what Juno is and what she does, and to show people that there are units that technically do stuff that she does a little bit better, especially in the damage department. I think there's a lot of positives and negatives to Juno, but I guess before I can even discuss that, I need to explain what Juno does for everybody who doesn't actually know. If you don't know, we'll just run through her kit really quick. I won't say word for word what everything is, but pretty much she is a Magia Drive unit, or a Demonic True Eclipse unit as they're called, which is she'll need to get to 200 arts first, and upon activating her True Art, she will activate Demonic True Eclipse. She will start ticking down her HP, and every time she uses her True Art, she's going to give you tons of Arch Gen. She's going to be able to deal some pretty good damage, and she's also going to be able to buff up her accuracy and damage by 100% upon activating Demonic True Eclipse. And her Demonic True Eclipse is probably one of the best buffs in this game. A lot of people are saying this thing is a straight power creep to like every single ramping damage dealer in the game, like Yusuke, Celia, all of them. And I mean, yeah, at first glance, it definitely looks like a power creep because Juno is literally a faster ramping damage dealer. A lot of people will always refer to her as that, including myself, where she is a ramping damage dealer that doesn't need to ramp. Now, of course, her ticking down HP, I don't actually think is a negative. This is like completely negated if you have someone that can heal on your team. Like, for example, a unit that's here right now, Mako, can literally negate this super easily. So yeah, if you look at her, you will literally say that this unit is probably the best of both worlds. She's an attacker, she's a support unit, all in one, really good. Reminds you a lot of another famous support unit that's in the Grand Summoner scene, which is of course Earthfin, and especially more so Darkfin. Both these guys, fantastic units, both kind of that attacker support hybrid, and Juno's kind of the same way. Of course, Juno out damages both of them, but you get the point. But why would people call her overrated? Now, I'm not the Juno expert, unfortunately. I have not joined the Juno cult myself, even though I do have her. I'm not even going to get into who my waifu is in Grand Summoners, because, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. Maybe if you saw the waifu tier list, you may actually know who mine is. But as far as why people would say Juno is overrated, I think it comes into light whenever you start looking at the other things that she's doing. Yes, she does give Arch Gen, but she's only Type B Arch Gen. So that's a pretty big negative considering Type B Arch Gen is the biggest Arch Gen class in the entire game. So that's one big problem that she has, is that she's Type B and she can't be used alongside other Type B Arch Gen units. Whenever I say this, by the way, some people get it confused thinking that you can't put them on the same team. Yes, you can put those units on the same team. Like, for example, if you wanted to run Rosetta and Juno on the same team, by all means do it. But just know that Rosetta's Arch Gen isn't going to be able to take an effect, or Juno's Arch Gen won't be able to take an effect, because their Archgen doesn't stack. So I think it applies the most recent Archgen buff to everyone. Type B Archgen is a huge killer for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people were upset because, like I said, it kind of hurts team comps. You can't make exactly what you want to make, and overall, I don't really like it too much. Another thing too to mention with Juno is that Juno doesn't have any innate crit chance into her kit. Yes, she does have a ton of damage buffs, but she doesn't have no way to penetrate defense unless you of course use something like Leon's True Weapon, which is a very popular choice on Juno, or you use something like Vox on your team or a Hiei or something of that sort, which really isn't a problem. She definitely does benefit from having more demon units on the team because of her passive. So, that's not really an issue in the long run, in my opinion. And, more than likely, you're already going to be using 100% crit buffer or some type of 100% crit buff on your team just so you can be dealing the most amount of damage as possible. But I think the big thing comes in is that the fact that she is magic damage, which is actually a thing that makes her, I think, extremely strong in my opinion, but it's also the thing that I think needs a lot of work in the global version of the game. Look at the two damage types that we have in the game. We have magic and we have physical. If we look at both damage types, both of these damage types have a ton going for them, right? Like if you look at the big bad boys that are the physical damage dealers that you think are like hitting extremely hard, you're looking at stuff like Decilia, your Voxes, your Shuris, your Saitamas, you know what I mean? You're looking at those guys, and then you look over at your magic damage dealers, you see a lot of stuff. You're looking at your Berwicks, your Junos, your Yusuke's, stuff like that. The main issue is though with both of these damage types is that there is so much more support in the game, in my opinion, for physical damage dealers than there are for magic damage dealers, at least at the current time in global. What I mean by this is that if you look at physical damage and you look specifically at what people say Juno power creeped, which was Decilia, and you look at her damage numbers compared to Juno, she already able to output more DPS than Juno would ever be able to even hope to get to. And the reason for that is a lot of reasons. For one, she has better slots in terms of just being a raw attacker. She has all attack slots, 1 5-star physical and then 2 5-star magics. She's able to get 1500 more additional attack from those equipment slots, but Juno's able to only get I think it's like 625 or something like that, because she has the 500 from her magic attack slot, then the 2 support slots. It's like 625 or like 665. It's something around there. If you factor that in, and even if you factor in like an attack up crest level 4 on both of them, no matter what, Decilia is still going to be winning in terms of the overall raw stats. Not only that, Decilia, I think her stacking mechanic is a little bit better in terms of Juno's, just because of the amount of attack, damage, and crit chance you get overall. But if you consider both of them getting the exact same amount of buffs, then yeah, actually Decilia I think always still out damages Juno. There's a damage calculator that I will reference here that you guys probably already saw in the video, and I think it's called Chase's damage calculator. I don't know exactly how incredibly accurate it is. It may not be pinpoint accurate, so take that with a grain of salt. But as you see, there's clearly a difference in damage from both of them. And the main problem here is I think that the magic damage comps just don't have something that's able to compete with the physical damage comp, especially if you're running, other units that are able to buff up Decilia. Like for example, look at everything physical damage has. You have Mako, which is universal. Both teams can use that. You have Sistina / Swick, the godly Dark Rimuru, and the list just goes on and on for the amount of physical damage support there is for a team. But if you look over at magic damage, I think magic damage is kind of lackluster in that regard. And I think it's more so just because they don't have a Sistina counterpart to an extent for magic damage dealers, at least not yet. I'm pretty sure it's going to come out at some point, but the best thing that we have, and not considering crossover units, is literally Dark Malia. And that is it pretty much for magic damage buffing. I mean, of course, you do have other crossover units, like for example, Santa Rimuru, which is an insane unit. You also have stuff like Fubuki, another insane magic damage buffer. I personally think another thing is too that really wins the physical damage in my opinion is just the Dark Rimuru. He pretty much makes it to where Decilia can infinitely stack damage as long as he's constantly stacking that true art up. I think we're going to be able to see Juno hit a lot harder once Miranda comes out. Once Miranda releases, which is from Phantom Snipers, she is going to be so busted with Juno. It's going to be such a nasty comp. But even with all that being said, even if physical damage still wins over the magic damage comps, I still don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And does that make Juno any worse? No, I personally don't think so. To be honest, I still think Juno actually will beat Decilia 9 times out of 10 whenever she's going against anything. Why is that? Because Juno doesn't have to stack. Yeah, once Cilia is able to stack, she's gonna be able to beat Juno in any regard in terms of damage, but you gotta get there first, Grandma. Slow down.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal.
So yeah, is Juno overrated? Absolutely not. Juno, I think, deserves every bit of praise that she gets. I don't think that she's as overly crazy or overly as OP as some people may think. She is very broken, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. She's one of the most busted units in the game. I don't know, man. To me personally, I think Vox still appeals to me a little bit more, but I think that's just because everything that he can do. I like that a little bit more, just because, you know, it's a jack of all trades, but I can definitely see the hype with Juno. So yeah, Juno's definitely not overrated. If you wind up getting her, be happy, man. Don't think that you gotta trash unit, because let me tell you, dude, that unit's busted. Use her in everywhere, man. Use her everywhere and you're gonna love her. Use her in raids, use her in in-game content, use her when farming events. Who cares? Hey man, thank you all for coming out again. It's been your boy OP. Tell me down below what you guys think about Juno. If you think she's overrated, she's overhyped, whatever the case may be, go ahead and tell me. I'll be reading the comment section and everything. Also, another thing to mention too is that this is actually going to be the first video I record on my new PC and edit on my new PC. And the software that I'm actually using for my new PC, at least editing wise, is a little bit different. So if anything looks weird about the video, do me a favor and tell me down below. And then the last thing to mention here, don't forget guys to download LD Player. If you want to play gacha games on your PC, make them look nice, you know, run them with high frame rates, high graphic settings, all that. Hey man, no better place to do it than LD Player. Download it. I'm telling you, it's fire. Thank you all for coming out again, man. It's been your boy P. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more. And last but not least, man, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.